Mr. Burrows.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I thank you for the opportunity to take a short call in respect of this Prisoners and Victims Claim Amendment Bill. Points have been made across the House that have been very pertinent to the question of the extension, the validity of extending this legislation forward for 12 months in order to get a solution which has buy-in from other parties and will see us into the future. And I also pick up on the points made by Charles Chauvel and the Honourable Phil Goff in respect to the need to be able to get some permanent solution in respect of compensation and remediation for the wrongs that are done between offender and victim. And the anomaly in that somebody in prison actually has the victim of a person in prison has the ability to get some compensation, but the victim of an offender who has a community-based sentence or has been released from prison later comes into a degree of wealth doesn't. I think these are all questions that need to be addressed. I also take the point that the way that we treat those who are the most despised in our community is also a measure of our civilisation as a society. I don't believe for a moment that we can turn a blind eye to the fact that many of our victims end up in prison because they're also offenders and vice versa. I believe that it is important that we put victims at the centre of our justice system and at the same time recognise that on occasions those victims are standing in the dock. So I think a number of these questions are hard questions, but there will be a way that we can chart through it. And I believe that it is incumbent on us as a government to do that. I do also want to make another point, and that is we've been criticised as a government for not getting to this legislation over the 3 years prior to the last election. And it should be pointed out that this government passed a large amount of legislation through its Law and Order Committee and its Justice and Electoral Committee, and in the vast majority of those pieces of legislation was supported by the opposition. It cannot be said by any means or in any manner whatsoever that this government was recalcitrant in its duties to pass legislation. It is not unusual for sunset clauses to be extended when governments of either colour have not been able to get to that legislation. And I commend this bill to the House.
Call Dennis O'Rourke.